Hello, Kanika. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so well, Ash. Thank you for having me here.
Great to have you. Great to have you. Before we start, Kanika, I usually ask this question to my guests around. Do you have a favorite quote, motivational quote, something that motivates, inspires you, you would like to share with our audience?
Yes. And this quote is just so dear to my heart because it helps me through everything. This is a quote by Buddha.
Hmm?
The quote goes like this, that pain is inevitable, suffering is a choice.
That's quite deep, actually. Pain is inevitable, but also suffering is a choice. That's true. I was literally having a chat with my partner in the kitchen. She was doing some dishes. She called herself as a human dishwasher because we don't have a dishwasher right now in our flat. Uh, I feel sorry for her, but nothing I can do much other than washing dishes with her. But she was saying, I was saying to her like, if you become more smarter, um, and then you become more sadder. We have heard this in some web series somewhere. So more smarter you are, more sadder you become, more dumber you are, the more happier you are. And she was like, yeah, totally. I get it because we tend to improve, augment ourselves as humans, reading, understanding things. And the more we understand, the more rational we become. And then more rational we are, the more thinking process goes for any kind of decision, not just decision, anything which we are, consuming. And yeah, that conversation just ended there because we both felt that we have to become more dumber. And then we started thinking how to become dumber. So one of the answers she was like, "Oh, in order to become dumber, you have to watch these reality shows, Love Island or something, and then just keep watching it, and then you become dumber." It's like, okay, that's a good idea. I would do that.
Well, I love whatever you're saying because it is actually true. If you think about it, perhaps as we go in 30s, we are maybe a little sad. And then 40s, the usual expectation is you become sadder because you're getting more critical with life. You go out
Hmm.
driving your car, you look at somebody else who's cut your lane, and yes, he's done a wrong thing, but you get annoyed with that. What you're doing throughout the day is you're collecting your annoyances.
Yeah. Indeed, definitely. Yeah, couldn't agree more with you on this one. Great, Kanika. Let me put you on this stage then. Um, we talk about a lot of modern relationship challenges on this show. One of the questions being put in front of me via not just from my newsletter subscribers, but also on the different social media platform is about, is staying together for the kids is the right choice? This question actually weighs, you know, short-term stability for children against long-term emotional damage. What's your opinion on this one?
Oh, I love the question and thank you for asking this because it is so close to my heart in the sense that I dabbled with the same thing. I didn't know this, unknown to me. In 2019, towards the end of it, is when my husband at the time and we decided that, hey, we're not really, really together, but let's try and stay together for our child. And then we moved into a new city and we just decided to stay together, tend it for him. We were being the adults there. And it's so hard. I've been there, I've tried it, I've talked to a couple of other friends who've tried it. It is one of the hardest things. And it does not matter how old your kids are, because they're very perceptive. We like to think that they don't know. We like to think that when we have a disagreement, we can put on a false face, just a mask, and they will not read through it. Oh, my dear. But kids, no.
They know everything.
Th- it's Think of the times when you walked into your house and you can just sense that something's off. Nobody said anything, everything's happening, but even before words are spoken, you know. It's
Yeah,
like it's
yeah,
written in the air.
yeah, definitely. If I enter my old days when I used to come back from school, if I enter the house and if I sense the tension, uh, I come from India, so my mom used to make parathas for me. I usually eat 3, 4, 5. But if I sense the tension, I go beyond 7, and that's like my usual way of coping up with the tension. So you're spot on.
Yeah, and so we are in a false programming there. I tried to do that, and this was this amazing time. At the one hand, I was sort of trying to work to the conditioning programming that I had. And I was also getting into my own journey of energy healing. So I was really starting to look at it and understand what's really happening with my son. And here's what I took away from there. First of all, that A, kids understand. Two, you're trying to pretend it's not easy for you, it's not easy for the partner. And in our 3D construct of the world, there are patterns. There are templates that we have created so that this is how the world looks okay. And one of that templates can be that a family should stay together. But I'm asking you this. In this, we are looking at, are they being provided safely? Are they being looked after? Their food, school, everything is taken care of. But we are forgetting a very critical element, which is just attitude, which is values you want to leave as legacy for your kids. And that's the question that I was dabbling with. That is what my ex was dabbling with as well. We did separate after that. And I can say now it's been about 5-ish years since we've separated. It's actually been a lot better because when your kid sees you happy, that's a lot better relationship. I can tell about myself as a mom, having gone through that myself. I was trying to be fully present with him in those early days as well, when I was navigating my own future, understanding how things would be. But, I was uncomfortable in the marriage then. And my ex would be very uncomfortable as well. Your energy at that point in time is really going away, trying to manage or think what the other person is doing, trying to behave in a certain way, not to ruffle the feathers. Whereas when you don't have that pressure, you're a lot more present with your child. I can tell you that I am present a lot more with my son. Was I not caring then? Was I not loving then? I was. I totally was, but it was just so different. It's very different now. We have to
You
rethink.
were consuming a lot of energy, well, bad energy in that sense, but instead of giving out the energy to your family, but then suddenly that switched off itself when you, I'm
Separated.
guessing, yeah.
Yes. And what are you leaving for your child as well? You want to give them the legacy, apart from just providing those things. When you take those bold steps, especially the steps where we feel very afraid, and it does not have to be just about leaving a relationship. It could even be about you following your dreams. And when you have a very stable family structure, so to speak, you're leaving a salaried job and pursuing some business or something. What is it that you really want to leave the future generation with? Do you want to tell them that?
That is what exactly I was about to ask you, in my second question. Is it okay not to want kids if your partner does? Like opposing desire around parenting can be deal breaker. Some people want it, some people don't. They come from different cultures. And then when this happens, it kind of feels like a hurdle in the pathway, the direction you want to go, right? No matter how strong the bond between you and your partner is. But is that okay to say no?
I think it always is. I had heard one of your earlier podcasts where you were talking to this lady and she told you, Carolyn, I think, where they marry every year again. And I was pondering on that. Lovely, fantastic approach. And how I was thinking of it in energetic terms, because I am an energy coach. What's happening with us is that within 7 years, all of our cells, they're actually regenerating. We're getting new cells. And yet, at some place, we're trying to live out of outdated patterns. Something that would have suited you yesterday might not suit you today. Maybe at one point in time, having kids, not having kids, that didn't matter as much. And then you grow up, and whether you agree or whether you disagree, on both sides, it's a very bad deal. If you didn't want kids and now you got kids, it's just a very different engagement. It's not one of those things, especially with kids, you cannot quit from them the way you can quit a job. Most times you cannot say, okay, I'm just not a parent anymore. It just plays very differently on your conscience.
Mm, mm.
So you have to reevaluate that.
Indeed, and I loved our episode with Eri because she was working with Amazon. She was helping leadership to understand how the communication, the level of understanding works, and then suddenly one day her husband and she decided to like plug out their life from states and move to an eastern. I think they're in Bali right now, but maybe I'm wrong. That takes a lot of courage for me to do that. I would be like, I don't even have that kind of brave heart, to plug my life instantly and then go somewhere else, especially with the kids, because they had kids later on. Speaking about that, Kanika, you what are the challenges or common challenges your client face that energy coaching can help them with? Because you're an energy coach, you teach them about energy. In modern relationships, we see that when you're in your so-called honeymoon period, you have a lot of energy because you're invested in the person. You want to know the person, and the, once that stage finishes, then you're like, okay, now I have this person or something like that. I don't know what's the right word to say. Not have, but like I am with this person, right? How does energy plays a role there? What are the different techniques you teach to your clients about bringing that energy back? Is it the energy you teach them about individual energy, or is it the synergy between two souls? Is that what you teach?
Goal is with synergy. Ultimate goal anywhere, whether that is in a relationship, that is a people relationship, whether that's a business, it's also a people relationship. So it doesn't matter whether there's one extra person, that's more people in there, but you're always the common factor there, and the person you have the most control on. So it always begins the most with you. A lot of the issues that we actually see outside, they are a mirror of what's going on inside. My clients will usually come to me with anything that could be happening either in their parenting relationship or either with their partners as they're going through stuff. And they're typically on a journey of self-awareness, but at the same time, they're looking at the other person going like, hey, this is not working out for me, or how do I make this work? And I always start with them, well, yes, they're always the problem. We're always the common denominator still. You had person A did something, person B did something. Fine, they're all wrong. But what are they teaching you? What is the lesson for your soul? And often what I find that because of how the world is wired, there is a lot of lack of worthiness, inherent worthiness within all of us. Early ages, we were taught to be the good boys, the good girls. There were certain things that we would do that was good. Most of us were brought up like that. You get good marks or you behave in a certain way. You say sometimes some things, you don't say some things, then you are good. You're perceived to be good. And so what we've done is instead of having the compass inwards, we have the compass outwards. And we are looking at our partners for that validation as well. When they get busy with work, we feel that we are undervalued suddenly. And it's our worthiness that gets attacked. We feel that lack. And so my beginning is always teaching them to start feeling worthy themselves. Because if we were not worthy, we just wouldn't have been here. There's just no way. You're worthy exactly as you are with your skill sets, whatever you are doing, whatever your message is. You're absolutely worthy and completely capable of happiness and all the desires that you want to achieve right now.
Definitely. My dad always says that um, in India, there's a practice that when you retire, you just stay home, do nothing, and enjoy your retirement, right? But he says that people lose their relevancy. And the moment they lose the relevancy, the the threshold of being relevant in the world decreases alongside the hope of life. So you need to kind of have something going on in your life which says that you're still relevant to the environment around you. Going on the similar lines, then, would you be able to? So you mentioned that you teach about energy, and ultimately it's about synergy. Could you share an example, a story of one of your clients of a transformation or a breakthrough you have seen in your coaching practice? What was the challenge they came to you with? What kind of strategies you put into place to get them out of, solve that particular challenge, or came through it, and then what was the end result?
So I can talk about one of my clients who started working with me very early on, and he was well, pretty obese at the time. There was a lot of worthiness issues that were going on with him, his own guilt around a lot of things as well. And just like you had mentioned, a lot of times we find comfort in the food when you want to escape from things. Food, whether we are eating more, whether we are eating less, that tends to be that comfort thing. So food tended to be that. And he really wanted to transform. He wanted to change for his daughter. He wanted to feel a lot more fitter. And that's why he came. So he wanted to enter that bodybuilding competition. He wanted to compete on stage. And that time, if you looked at him, a fellow who's not able to walk a little bit, maybe just 2 meters or so without huffing, panting, you almost laugh. So he
Wow.
was doing the work, but he came and he had this dream. And he was talking about him being on stage. So when you get into bodybuilding, as you prep for that, you take your shirt off, you stand along with all the other people, you stand on stage, and then you pose. Now imagine being really obese and getting on stage. Everybody is watching you. You've just got your underwear on, like literally your body is on full display. And you feeling totally unworthy there because you're like, oh my God, I've got all this competition with all the people. And I started working with him to teach him very simple energy tools so that he could start grounding himself. Ash, what happens is that as we go through life, we accumulate a lot of negative charges. What that means is somebody said something to us, we felt a little bit off, negative, but we don't know how to discharge it. It stays in the body. And whether we are feeling unhappy, whether we are making our body is getting diseases and aches because of that, we're actually carrying that within our space. Now, grounding, for example, is a very simple tool. I teach people how to ground, how to connect with the earth to start releasing the negative charge. And it's not even non-scientific. All our electrical appliances, they have an earthing wire.
Indeed.
The reason for the earthing wire is that it takes away the negative charge and discharges it. And yet, as humans, we walk around and we feel all these things. And then this is the reason why, typically, as we grow older and older, we just get more frustrated with life because we're accumulating all of these things and we technically understand we're supposed to let go. But a lot of times, how to let go is not very clear.
Yeah. The medium. Yeah.
So that's what I started doing with him and helping him be on stage. And I just told him the simple technique that this is what you do next time you go on stage. This is what you do. You just stand there and you just ground, you just run your energy. That's how he practiced. And he actually became the second runners-up in Australian transformation. So that was pretty good. But I helped them move from the place where they were feeling that lack to a place of expansion, whether that would be in terms of more income, whether that would be in terms of more visibility, more connectedness with their partners, whatever that is, whatever that definition is. Your energy balancing, internal energy balancing, can help you do that outside.
When you say energy tools, by the way, amazing word. Have you coined that already in your book or something? Or is it in your industry, it is very common?
That's how my teacher said it. And I remember the first time I heard a teacher say energy tools, I'm like, what do you mean? But that is what it is. It is literally like modalities, how you would have a tool to maybe do some writing for you. Or let's say there's a tool to put something on PowerPoint or there's Canva, as a lot of us know. But they're different energy tools that we can use to start balancing our body, to start balancing our emotions. It's very simple, as simple as this grounding technique that I told you, which is literally just imagining your body as a conductor, imagining a connection with the center of the earth and letting a lot of those things go away. People get blown away by how simple it is, But it's a very
Mm.
human construct where we think that things have to be so complex. But it's in fact, it is just super, super simple. The more you do it, the same tools, they're just different ways of practicing with them. And as you expand and learn more, you just learn to work with them more. Like we are all still walking, stuff that we used to do when we were 2 years old. But it's how you walk and where you walk that makes the difference. What is it that you are seeing? What is it that you're noticing? It's literally the same thing. But
So let
Mhm.
me ask you this question then. What are the top three go-to energy tools for someone who is completely new into this space? Can you walk us through a simple couple of simple energy tools that our listeners can try, maybe right now or after the show?
Yeah, absolutely. So without going into a meditation, the first one is grounding, and I gave a little bit of that. But when you are imagining your body and when you're connecting with the earth, try going to the core of the earth because that's where her most abundant energy is. On the top surface, people already feel very good when they walk bare feet on grass or on the beach, and that's pretty good. But it still has a lot of the collective stress energy of the planet. So just go connect a lot deeper. Earth, if you started thinking of the earth as a being which is billions of years old, which is holding space for all of us, and that's why we call her Mother Earth, even if we are spiritual or not, because she is looking after all of us, she's giving us everything. So when we connect with that being, this is this beautiful, nurturing space with unconditional love and compassion for all of us that you can just tap into whenever you feel like life's a little hard, whenever you just need an uplift. You connect with her. That's the first way to release, to let go, and then also to bring back love, especially if you're feeling like nobody's holding me. Just imagine the earth's holding you because she always is. We might not recognize that. That would be the first one. The second one is connecting with the stars, connecting with the sun. So if I thought about grounding, that is a lot releasing. That is a lot of letting go. That's releasing the negative charge. Now you want to bring in the pure positive energy. Like your dad said that, hey, I've got something to do. I need some inspiration in life as I keep going on. I need to stay relevant. What he's really talking about is that guidance, the insight, the light that we can all tend to lose over time. So you fill that cup. You just connect with the sun. Again, as humanity, a lot of us do that. We like going out in the sun. But even if you don't have sunny days, you just imagine the sun. You imagine the sun, you imagine the stars, you imagine the North Star, and you imagine that showering golden light into you like honey, and it's just flowing into you. And this is literally called opening your channel. So that would be the third thing. Your body is a container, and the more energy flows through it, the better you are feeling. Where it starts getting blocked, where it starts getting stuck, that's where there is dis-ease because there's no ease in there. So the third thing then is you're allowing that channel to happen. So you just think of your body. You could close your eyes when you are meditating or when you are in a nice peaceful space and just imagine your body as a container. Imagine how much energy is coming from the cosmos above, how much of that energy you're able to allow in, and then how much you're able to release out. And literally just doing that, I have never had anyone come in and go like, oh, I don't feel relaxed with this. And people could have been like, there was this time when I used to do classes in person, and I would just invite a lot of people to do art therapy with them, and I would guide them through a little bit of meditation. And on occasions, I've had people who have just had trouble sitting still, like there's something going on with them. And the minute you start doing this, there's an ease that happens. I've done this on kids, on pets, unknown to them in the sense that I'm not really telling them this, but I'm just imagining that when they're throwing a tantrum, then I'm just imagining that they're connecting with the earth, that the sun's giving them guidance. And by the way, this is all natural. This is not interfering with them because if they don't want it, they will just walk out of it. And that's okay by me. Then I don't do that again. And it just really calms them down. They're so amazing.
Indeed, indeed. In modern relationships, we have found out that having some kind of conflict or any kind of sensitive discussion kind of repels, or not repels is not the right word, kind of I don't know, if you put positive or negative wires together in the
Yeah, they
electricity, they
repel. They don't like
spark,
each other.
right? They don't like each other, right? What's what what should, I don't want to use the word couple because relationship could be between two individuals, right? What could two people in a relationship do before having or engaging in a sensitive discussion so that the discussion is productive instead of repelling each other?
And this is amazing because this is where energy work is just absolutely fantastic. We all have a space that we are sharing with other people. People you have in your thoughts, your boss, you like, you don't like people. You like, you don't like. There is an energetic connection with everybody. There's an energetic space. All you would do is you would just imagine that space as a container and do the same things. Try doing that next time you have a conflict with someone or you feel like something's really hard. Try doing it just for fun, even if you feel skeptical about it. But imagine the space, connect it with the earth. Automatically, what that starts doing is that some things are natural, like if there's two people, there's a natural where one person's thinking one way, the other person's thinking another way. Some of those things are natural. Some of the things are just, I would say, the foreign entities that are coming in play and they are doing their own dance in between. And that's not required. Maybe sometimes that's noise. Maybe sometimes that's previous karmic patterns that you don't need to work out right now. Maybe, something happened and you killed another person or you killed someone in their family. But all that was previous lifetime. You don't need to have that energy in this lifetime. So when you ground, you bring everything into present time. Technically how things are happening is that our bodies carry the memories. Whatever we feel in our body, whether that's a fear, whether that's a doubt, anything that we feel is happening because at some time there was a memory in there. So when we connect with another person, with that relationship, what we are bringing in there is those past time memories as well. So when you ground it, but because you ground it now, in this moment now, so the past time energies can be drained away and earth will naturally balance it out. You just have to say, and you have to give her the control, go like, hey, can you take out all the energy that does not serve us here? All that goes when you connect with the higher energies, meaning when you're connecting with the stars, when you're connecting with the sun, when you bring that energy, you're bringing the energy of the divine in there. You're bringing the energy of guidance in there. So automatically that communication channel, you've really cleaned it. I've done this for myself. Like I didn't have the easiest separation with my ex. It was a very toxic relationship for us for different reasons. And then I was separating with a child who was 4 years old and massive guilt and everything. But I knew energy healing and I did not even know how it would play out. I was still learning things then. But I would take our space and I would do the exact method that I'm telling you. I would take our co-parenting space. I would imagine that. I would hook that up to the earth. Literally the same thing. And I would run my energy. I would ground my son. I would make my ex feel okay as well. And I can tell you, even 4 months after, I remember this conversation with my son. I just picked him up from his dad and I was driving. And he's like, Mom, why are you not together with dad? And I said, yeah, because we just don't get along together. We are happier like this. And this is an answer that I'd explained to him earlier as well. But he's like, no, but you were not happy then, but I can see that you're really happy now. Because to his little eyes, the time between us felt peaceful, and it was. We go to school functions together, we do a lot of things together. The tension has really dissolved, and it's dissolved a huge part. I would say credit to him because there would have been work that he's done at his end, but also the energy work really facilitated that. There's another example I have of another parent who came to me because his ex-partner, his daughter's mum, she was going to sue him because she didn't want him to look after their daughter anymore. She just had allegations against him that he wasn't doing the right job and so on, taking care as a dad. So she was going to fight a very lengthy legal case. And at least unfortunately in Australia, dads don't always get a lot of say. I imagine It's like that with a lot of other countries as well, where especially if the child's younger, the mum gets a lot more say. If the daughter or the kids are more attached to their mums, particularly so, but usually it tends to happen that way. So he was very worried when he came in. And we looked at the energy. I looked at his energy first. I cleaned his energy. I cleared the energy for his daughter, because what was bringing that thing, the whole drama into play. And then mum was not present, but we had mum as a spirit see the whole thing, see how the daughter needed the dad. And she watched her as a spirit. And what we saw was that there was this feeling of lack, that if daughter went there and if she loved her dad more, then she was loved less. So there was a little bit of competition. There was lack of self-worth that was coming in. But once we healed that, it was different. I saw it very differently in the visions when I was looking at the reading as such. And the next day he called to me and he told me that his wife had actually taken the legal thing off, because she said, well, I was just thinking about it last night and I thought that maybe we can just do it like we've done for so long. It's probably in the best interest for our daughter. So it was just so quick and so good.
That's really cool, because we in the modern world, we kind of do quite a lot of, we go out of our comfort zone to fix things up. Instead of looking inside, we look outside, right? How can busy, so let me give you my example. Let's say you have Ash and Kamala coming to you asking for, we are busy, we work from morning 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. I am spending 90% of my time in my studies, in my badminton court, or running. She is spending 90% of time working and writing her book. So we hardly get time. So the only time we spend together is while we're having breakfast or dinner. Or one thing she introduced well, we both go to is, we have a Bollywood Zumba class where we dance on Bollywood songs, which is kind of bringing our energy back, to be honest. So that we like.
It's fun, and you're bringing that child energy back to you, the
Back to
place where we all are happy. Yeah.
Exactly. And she's learning Bollywood too. So she's like, oh, you guys are happy people. I said, yes, we do. A lot of party. So how can busy people in modern world in 2025 incorporate these energy tools into their daily routine without feeling overwhelmed?
Thank you. I love that question. And I'll say this, that first of all, whatever's keeping you happy, that is what your spirit wants you to do. So it does not have to be meditation, does not have to be energy healing. It does not have to be any particular modality. Whatever is bringing you happiness, that's the first start. That's where your soul wants you to go, because it wants to sing, it wants to have pleasure, it really wants to enjoy life. And the more you'll find that when you are in those happy moments, you start recalibrating yourself inside. Like you start really understanding, oh, this is what I really like. Maybe I want to write more. Maybe now I want to compose some music, or I want to sing. Whatever that's coming, that's already your life force is getting more enhanced by you investing into your happiness. So great. That's the greatest gift you could give to yourself. If I explain that in energy terms, our body is a container, like a glass or a bottle. Our body has a certain capacity, right? Now, in this capacity, and I'm just putting my hands up here,
Sure.
There's some negative charge that we've connected over the years. And then there's the life force. This is the life force that we came with. What is happening over time, this life force is the fuel that is going to give us passion for life, especially the new projects, the things that we are going to do. This is that life force. This is literally the zeal of life, the juice of life. How much do I enjoy life, right? That's how our energy container is made. Over time, if the negative charge is increasing, obviously space for the life force is depleting. And plus, if we are not rebalancing our energy, if we are not really filling it up with things that comprise our happiness, we are reducing the life force. And so no wonder that a lot of us then tend to feel a lot unhappier, or just as if we are living on autopilot. So that's the first thing, that when you are doing just connecting to your happiness, that's great. And then whatever tools you're doing, whether you're doing energy tools, whether you are, just taking time and walking in the grass, whatever that is, integrate that with your life. It's not something separate, integrate that. So I'll take time even before I'm picking up my son sometimes. If I've got 5 minutes, it doesn't have to be long. Sometimes it's just then. You do it when you are cooking. There'll be certain things that you'll do while on your way to work, that you make it work and you integrate that in your routine. It cannot be something extra. This is where you actually come to de-stress. This is where you come to connect with yourself. This should be the last thing that should cause you stress.
Indeed, yeah. It's stress releaser, not stress giver, right? Yeah, indeed. Great stuff. Um, thanks for sharing that, Kanika. And I really appreciate it. It's just so interesting for me to learn this from you that I have like 100 more questions. It's like I can't go on and on with you on this topic because it's very interesting. It's for everyone and anyone who would like to improve themselves with their own lives with the help of Mother Earth's energy or your own energy, right? So we've got one more section in our episode. It's called Lightning Round, where I've got 6 quickfire questions for you. But before we go into our lightning round, I would like to ask you a personal question. Throughout your journey and experience, there must have been valuable lessons learned, right? If you don't mind sharing, could you reflect on your experiences and tell us about one mistake or a setback that you encountered along the way that you now consider not a regret, but a lessons learned, right? And additionally, what advice would you give our listeners based on that experience?
Yeah. So lots of regrets, perhaps. This is how I could have done things. But I'll talk to you about one of my times when I have been working, since I've been working as an energy coach. Like in the past, well, actually, let me go there because let me explain regret, as it does have a huge energy impact. So, my regret in the past would be to choose some partner who caused something, and this person did that, and then how come I went out and I did the same mistake again? So, that would be the regret. And what I now understand as an energy coach is what I call those regrets. That's life trying to show me that this is where I've got to learn, evolve. Remember, I was the common denominator. It doesn't matter who the outside people were. What was inside me that needed a change? What was it that I needed to learn and evolve? So, this is where I picked up that, oh, I need to get a lot more trusting with me. And I thought I'd learned my lesson that, okay, I'm understanding my own worthiness. I'm really trusting myself more. But this is what I learned in my journey as a business coach or as an energy coach. I was wondering why, so some time ago, I was wondering why it wasn't expanding in the sense that it needed to expand. Like if work was really good, why wasn't it expanding that way? And I understood the other part of the chain. The first thing was that yes, I was trusting myself and I was now believing more in my worth, but I was operating as myself. You know what that means? We're all operating with the universe. A lot of times when you are trying to control the outcome, we're not operating with the universal flow, but we are trying to control. So, our lesson here, or my lesson then, and the big shift was okay, I'm not in this alone. I'm actually held. So, at the beginning level where I felt that, oh, I'm held by the earth, yes, but expanding that and going like, I'm held in the universe because there's an intrinsic universal flow in us. Without that flow, we would not have been created. We would not have materialized into a physical form. So, whatever it is that you want to do, especially if it is something that is going to help the universe in some level, whether you're creating a podcast, whether you're sharing your messages, whatever form, know that whatever you are doing, and even if you have an idea that you haven't started today, but you really want to, know that that idea is a lot bigger than you, that it comes from the universe. That is why you are wanting to do that idea, but also then teaming up with the universe. For me, the shift happened the moment I started working with the universe. A lot of things happened. Like literally, first, I used to feel that I'm driving the business. Then I started realizing my business has its own identity. It had
Like
its
an
own,
engine. Yeah.
it had its own. I thought I was the owner, but she's a co owner. And she does her own things. She has her own visions. And yes, I have to talk to her and we have to be in alignment and so on. But once you start working with the universal flow, you'll start realizing that a lot of what you're trying to do, that's already happening if only you'd get out of the way and you just understand the bigger picture, and you would stay centered in your zone of genius, not control, not from lack, not from fear. But it's a win-win relationship when you start working with the universe.
Very interesting, because it's not just about working with universe, it's also taking universe as a partner in your venture, so that if you need help, which is obviously you're going to need a lot of help, you can seek out to someone who can help you out on your path. um, I don't want to say other way around, because I don't know if universe need help from us, but who knows.
Well, we are the channels in that sense. So the more you surrender and the more you go, well, this is what I want to do. What is the inspiration here? And, for all the heart led business owners, whatever your message is, or even if you're not doing that at a much larger scale, in whatever capacity you are expanding, contributing to humanity, know that the universe wants to support you. Even if you feel like you're not doing anything, you're just a normal, regular person in your family life or however the relationship is, even if you're just doing that day-to-day thing, just by you acting in your own alignment, you are helping, aiding the universal flow. And you don't need to feel alone, because whatever help you need, the universe is going to help you if you're acting out of alignment. It wants you to be in your truth and light. So wherever you feel restricted, rather than feeling the lack, tune in, open in, ask the universe to help you, and let that help pour in. You don't need to control, you need to surrender. That's what I've learned for myself, and I encourage people to think that way, because that's really opened the floodgates for me.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that, because that not just let our listeners think about the approach they should take for a positive outcome, but also um, give them food for thought. Right? Great. So let's get into our lightning round then. I've got 6 quickfire questions for you. At any point, if you feel that you don't want to answer that question, just give me a skip and then we move on to the next one. But I hope it doesn't happen. So, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, great. What are the top 3 strategies or top 3 relationship rules in this sense to be successful in a relationship?
Always check with what is in your alignment. And from a lot of what I see, a lot of us are wired to be people pleasers. We're wired at such a deep level to be people pleasers that we don't even understand when it's not in our alignment. So step away, think of scenarios when they're not there, and then think how you are acting, behaving. Is that going to be the same or not? Nothing deserves your compromise. You're really compromising yourself. No person deserves that compromise. Least of all the person you love, because you, as a lesser version of you, are not serving yourself or humanity or anybody.
So, what book would you recommend to our audience and why?
Well, there's this brilliant book called The Abundance Book. It's by John Randall Price. And it really helps you shift your perspective on thinking about abundance, on thinking that we are separate, as if we are not held alone, unsupported in the world. And what this book does is he's talking about how this universal flow is flowing through all of us, and how, if that is the truth, we are all really connected. And if there's any fault that we are ever doing, that's just thinking that we are separate from that universal flow. I sound like a church person right now. But it's, again, just food for thought for people. That if you have been incarnated on earth, if you are here, it's a miracle. A baby being born is a miracle. All the science in the world, all the doctors in the world cannot combine together and make a human baby. They just cannot make your hand or your eyes. They just cannot. But the very fact that you exist, how you exist, it is a miracle. And own that, and know that you are the miracle, you are divinity. So don't feel disconnected. But yeah, that's the book, Abundance Book by John Randall Price.
Thank you. What one attribute or characteristic in your mind of a successful relationship?
Truth, authenticity, harmony. Truth would mean authenticity, like how you are, not trying to put layers on it. And we often try to, because we try and feel, oh, if I say it this way, then they will more get my point. But I would say be compassionate, but be truthful. Because even if you're trying to cover it up in whatever way, it is going to show up, or it's going to stay inside you and it will cause frustration and pain. So sooner or later, you'll need to deal with that. So just try and be as truthful and as compassionate as possible. And think about harmony. I wouldn't use the word love, because love, I feel, can have different expectations, meanings for different people. But harmony, I believe a lot of us understand. And harmony is not from a compromising perspective, but harmony is more that two people come together, you see them, you allow them space, you let them grow. The agreement is just that you are both there, but whatever that relationship is, that you're both there. You're allowing each other to be as they are. You see them, you value them, you hear them for what they are. And that's an agreement. That's something that you do as a question every day. If it feels like it's not wrong, you talk about it. That's where the authenticity about it comes. You have that chat, you recalibrate it.
Indeed, indeed. What's your personal favorite relationship hack?
I'm trying to think what is one thing that could just suit everywhere. And perhaps, like, normally I would say be truthful, because that's where a lot of us actually have problems. We tend to hide. We don't even know when we are hiding, but we tend to hide. But I would take your example there. And that's really about happiness. You know, we tend to move on in a relationship. We tend to forget what got us together. We tend to forget what attracted us together. And a lot of times it's not that life's going on. Yes, life's going on. But somehow in that process, as life goes on, you start noticing less of the spark that inspired you, but you start noticing a lot more of what you do not like about them.
Indeed. That happens all the time, I guess. Yeah.
And it is not that the other person is doing anything wrong. It is not that they are wrong. But here's a fundamental fact about all our key relationships. In fact, everybody who shows up in our lives, everybody is showing up because they are a mirror to what you are holding inside. Hence, this is the universal law that all the other people, they will actually show you parts of you that need to be healed. So the outside person really does not matter. You could be with person A, B, C, D. You will be triggered. That is the design. It is meant to be that way. So what you've got to do is you've got to heal yourself. You've got to see, okay, this is what you're pointing out. First, I'm going to go heal myself. Then I'm going to think what I'm going to do in the relationship. But if you really want to enjoy the relationship, you've got to come back to basics. You've really got to bring the happiness out. You've got to see what are the things that connect you together. You've got to give more life to what brought you both together. Nurture that seed. Grow that plant into a tree. Have lots of branches and fruits for that tree. But really nurture your relationship.
Got it. What's the one secret weapon to keep your physical intimacy intact?
Well, you want to talk about it. You want to be really open in that space. You know, the physical intimacy, it comes from our second chakra, which is not just sex. It's the door for your intimacy. It's for your emotions. It's your own femininity or your masculinity. It's door to a lot of things. So while on the outside, it seems as just intimacy, there's a lot that's happening inside with that. If you have bottled up emotions against that person, or if you have bottled up emotions around that, this is the place where lots of things come in. Sometimes you feel like you're reacting to your partner, you're reacting to an instant that happened, but what you're really reacting to could be something that happened in your childhood, could be something that happened unknown to you in a past life, and you just don't know, because this is that area. The second chakra, especially for females, this is the door to your womb portal. The womb portal is this connection with the universal void. If I had to explain that, void is the nothingness and the everything. Void is like, if you look at pictures of space, you would see the stars, you would see the galaxies, and then you would see all the darkness behind that. That darkness, that womb, this is where you're connecting with that energy. So it's a lot more potent where life is born from that place, that's a lot more potent than just the physical birth. Everything in life is happening there. This portal is actually connecting you to the birthplace of the universe and the universes. So this is where the stars, the galaxies, they all get born and then they get reborn. And hence, this is that place where it can be really a magical, profound connection if you're really intertwined together. And on the other hand, what you can feel here, if it's unbalanced match, is you can feel a complete lack. And this is where it gets really hard for in terms of emotions, because the emotions are not small, they're magnified because it is this magnetic, expansive space. In the best fertile space, it's really expansive. This is where you can really do great things together. But if you feel disconnected, even outside, if you might label it, well, that was just a one night stand, or however you want to put it in your logical mind, there's a lot more going in the deeper layers there.
Yeah.
Apart
Yeah.
from just intimacy. So the best place to come from here is to come from your space as just owning your worthiness, but being able to talk about it. And there are going to be different things in here where you will evolve, grow together, but just having that space where you're able to talk to the other person and be as candid as possible.
Sure.
To evolve the whole space.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Kanika. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing all this wisdom and energy tool things. I'm definitely going to try that. If people want to get in touch with you, want to have some questions, what's the best way to do it?
I can be found at Kanika Energy Coach on LinkedIn or on Instagram, or otherwise they can find me on my website, artoflifecenter.com. And if you want to send me a message, just do that, or you can reach out to me at artoflifecenter.com/call, because whatever's going on in your life, I would like to understand what is really the energetic blocks behind it. And then what can the next steps be for you? I like to meet every person at their level and then see what are the appropriate steps for them.
Sure thing. Kanika, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey and the impactful work you're doing through your service. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Relationship Labs podcast.
Thank you so much, Ash. It was such a pleasure as well.